On the 5th of February 1969 at 19:13 BST GMT plus 1 hour, F-4C SN 640874, call sign Furry 72, assigned to the 92 TFS 81 TFW, had a mid-air collision with his leader, Furry 71, and F-4C SN 64-0873 at approximately coordinates that I'll put below, which is near York, England. Furry 71 immediately became uncontrollable and the aircrew ejected, with both aircrew members receiving injuries. Furry 72's left engine became inoperative and the aircraft began to lose fuel rapidly. Approximately 7 minutes after the mid-air collision, Furry 72's right engine flamed out due to a complete loss of all fuel. Oh, we're in the trees! And the aircrew ejected without injury. Both aircraft were totally demolished upon ground impact without causing personal injury. Aircraft 64-0873 impacted at coordinates I'll put below. Aircraft 64-0874 impacted at, again I'll put the coordinates below, I'm in the trees now. This is a story of two phantoms, as you can tell, that had a mid-air collision near York. Both ended up crashing in completely different parts of Yorkshire, and I will tell the full story here. However, before I get onto the story, I have to take a big amount of time to say thank you to the lovely Facebook group that I'm on called Disused World War II Air Bases for all of their help with the research for this. Now, I've never come across a story in real life where people have had to eject from a plane before. I have never come across ejector seats or anything like that. And even though I understand the principle, you pull a cord, the seat flies through the canopy, my only experience of this is watching Top Gun, and that did not end well for Goose. So with that in mind, I asked all about ejectors and what happens, and if you don't know how an ejector seat works, I absolutely recommend that you have a look, because it's one of the craziest things in the world. And if it's not bad enough that you have to be in a life or death situation and your plane going down, it's also quite risky ejecting from a plane as well. And one of the main injuries is a spinal fracture, a compression fracture to the vertebrae of your spine. Now, I've spoken to a doctor about this, and this is a doctor who has a speciality in aircrew as well. And basically put, a compression fracture of the spine usually happens within the first 2 seconds of the ejector seat going off, purely because your bottom is travelling faster than your head at that point, and so everything gets squished. So that's not very nice, is it? So this is a story based here at the beautiful Lindhome of a phantom aircraft. It's two American crew and what happened to them. Now, it's not a very funny story, but it does have a very funny element to it, which I will get onto later. But just to let you know, even though I do have the history of the flight, I only have 2 pages, so I will stop abruptly, and I'm sorry I don't have any more than that. If anybody wants to send me the rest of it, that would be great, and I will do a follow-up, but I do only have the first 2 pages, which I'll continue reading now. Ooh, falling over again, I swear to God, I'm always in a hedge. Anyway, at 1550L on the day of the flight, Lieutenant Colonel Donald Lynch conducted a briefing for Furry 71 flight, which consisted of 4 aircraft. Attending were Captain Anthony Sultan, pilot, Ferry 71, Captain Dennis Petty, Aircraft Commander, and Major Max Owens, Navigator. Ferry 72, Captain Robert Coburn, Aircraft Commander. Ferry 73 and Captain Thomas Amos, Aircraft Commander, and Captain Floyd Gutowski, Pilot. Ferry 74, Captain Jack Howell, pilot of Ferry 73, was not present due to his landing at 1583L on his first sortie of the day. Captain Howell was subsequently given a mission briefing by his aircraft commander. Utilising wing mission briefing checklist cards, which were prepared from data contained in the USAF EM 55-4, Lieutenant Colonel Lynch briefed the flight on a night air refuelling mission, which was to be followed by a night low-level radar aerial navigation set, INS, inertial navigation set, comment below, not quite sure what that means, navigation route. The flight was briefed to assemble, take off and join up in accordance with standard wing procedures. After joining up, the flight was to proceed by a standard squadron routing to the UK Alpha refuelling area, and each aircraft was instructed to unload 4,900 pounds of fuel. After refueling, the flight was to fly at flight level FL 330 direct to Wallasey taken and Ouston taken, and then to begin descent directly to Holy Island with a left teardrop turn to be executed at the point of intercept equivalent route ER 603 southbound bound at FL 55. The second element was briefed to take formation with leaders and directed to stay loose and clear of the lead aircraft while flying the low-level route so that they could navigate and allow their leaders room to manoeuvre. After low level, the elements were to maintain their integrity on climb out and return to Bentwaters initial approach fix, LAF. Each aircraft was then to make individual penetrations. Applicable emergency procedures were covered, and each aircraft commander discussed crew coordination with his pilot and navigator. Pre-flight, taxi and marshalling for takeoff were all normal. Takeoff was made at 1716L in elements of 2, using SID number 1 to flight level 310 to Upper Hayford 1 AGAN, and then on to Yeovilton TAGAN. At Yeovilton, the flight refueled at FL 280 in UK Alpha. Fueling area with Coupe 35, a KC-135 tanker, and departed the tanker as a flight of 4. The refuelling was conducted as briefed. Each aircraft unloaded approximately 4,900 pounds of fuel. Ferry 73 and Ferry 74 each had to have their receptacles tapped by the boom in order to open their air refuelling doors and take fuel. All 4 aircraft experienced fuel spillage from the receptacle while refueling. After completion of the air refuelling, the flight of 4 proceeded to Wallasey Toucan and then to Ouston Toucan at FL 330. Approximately 2 minutes past Ouston Toucan, Ferry 71 began a descent, and the second element started to take their spacing on the lead element. Ferry 71 and 72 entered ER-603 as planned. Ferry 73 and 74 aborted their mission. At the beginning of the low-level navigation mission at approximately 1758Z, because Ferry 73 had an erratic fuel quantity indicator and 74 had a cabin temperature stuck on full cold and was 1,000 pounds below planned fuel remaining. They contacted border control and were cleared back to Bentwaters via northern control at FL 115. Their subsequent return and recovery were uneventful. My hair's gone a bit mad now in the wind, so apologies if I look like something wild. It is quite windy out here today. On the low-level route, Ferry 72 was monitoring his own navigation while following the lead aircraft, while Captain Petty, aircraft commander of Ferry 72, did not refer to his map on the low-level route. He periodically checked his radar scope for prominent returns. He was attempting to maintain a 7 o'clock position on lead with a spacing of about 1/2 mile. He moved to the right wing, 5 o'clock position, on the second leg, which ended at the IP. The final leg was a 5-minute run to the target. Approximately 2 minutes after turning at the IP, Ferry 71 decided to abort and began to climb back to the Bentwaters initial approach fix. He aborted because the cloud deck below was at his altitude of 5,500 feet. Both aircraft were on UHF Channel 12 Squadron common frequency. Upon making the decision to abort the low-level route, Ferry 71 advanced his power and advised 72 to push it up, and that the low level was being aborted. A gentle left turn was started. Almost immediately, Ferry 71 asked 72 for heading and distance to the Bentwaters IAF. Captain Petty, Ferry 72, increased his power settings to military for an estimated 5 seconds and then reduced power to approximately 90% RPM. When lead requested the heading information, Captain Petty checked his horizontal situation indicator for his information, but the coordinates had not been set into the inertial navigation set, INS, sorry, I don't know what that word says. It's not me, it's actually printed very, very faint. Inertial navigation set, INS. Anyway, the fact that the coordinates were not set was not a deviation from normal operating procedures. Both the pilot of Ferry 71 and the navigator of Ferry 72 began setting the coordinates of Bentwaters IAF into their INS, and both had their heads inside the cockpit when the mid-air collision occurred. Meanwhile, Ferry 72 estimated his position at start climb to about 1/2 mile at Leeds 5 o'clock position after checking his HSI for the heading to the IAF. Captain Petty estimated that his position at least 1/4 to 1/3 mile behind lead, who was in his 11 o'clock position. Now I'm afraid that is all I have from this document. So for what happened next, I have to refer to another document. Peacetime, USAF fighter crash at route near Doncaster, South Yorkshire. McDonnell Douglas Phantom F4C 64 08 74. The 92nd Tactical Fighter Squadron, 81st Tactical Fighter Wing of RAF Bentwaters. The aircraft took off from base in the late afternoon of the 5th of February 1969 as one of 4 aircraft to carry out the night flight refuelling and low-level navigation exercise. The flight successfully refueled from a KC-135 tanker in Yeovilton and continued to the high-level exercise via Liverpool and Newcastle before starting to descend and begin the slow low-level exercise. At this point, 2 of the aircraft returned to base due to in-serviceabilities, leaving the remaining pair to descend into the low-level route over the North Yorkshire moors. At 5,500 feet, it was decided to abandon the low-level exercise due to low cloud, and the leader ordered the other aircraft to change position and close up. As this was being done, the aircraft collided over Orton, 9 miles southeast of York. The crew of 640874 decided to remain with the aircraft and declaring an emergency, they were directed to RAF Finningley, 22 miles away to the southwest, but ejected successfully when the engine stopped due to fuel starvation caused by damage caused by the collision. The aircraft crashed 3 miles short of Finningley runway and a few yards east of Lindhome farmhouse route, totally destroying the aircraft at MR 112-702-043. A small amount of pieces of wreckage were found near to the impact point of the crash. The crew were Captain D.C. Petty and Navigator Major M.G. Owens. So why am I here at RAF Lindhome when this was RAF Bentwaters and the plane was heading towards RAF Finningley? Well, the reason being that just before the plane crashed, the 2 crew members ejected. One of them, unfortunately, ended up crashing through one of the roofs of the hangars, and the hangar is just over there. There are 5 hangars here. I'm not exactly sure which one. I do have it written down somewhere, but unfortunately that is not a nice place to land for anybody, and he did end up injured. So it's not funny, and I hope that he did make a full recovery from that. But you can see a kind of humorous element to it. I mean, landing through a roof, I mean, that's unlucky, isn't it? Really unlucky. The second person that was ejected from the plane ended up on the airfield here. I'm on the perimeter track now, so I'm guessing that he would have been over there somewhere behind me now on the actual field where both of the runways were. So why is this story of interest to me, even though I love everything to do with RAF Lindhome? This was 1969. For the entire time since the Second World War, there have been many sightings of a spectre here, or a ghost here, which took up the name of Lindhome Willie. It's often said that a man in a flight suit is seen here on the airfield, on the perimeter track, been seen on the moors, and he's also been seen over at HMP Lindhome, as is now. But when this was an operational airbase of RAF Lindhome, many men had experiences out here with something that was here and then completely vanished. Now I can say honestly, I have been here every hour of day and night. I have never seen anything. I'd love to, I'd absolutely love to, but I haven't seen a single thing. Not saying I don't believe it, it just hasn't happened to me. So, back to the story. We have this poor American gentleman that has landed on a field in the middle of RAF Lindhome. He has no idea about the ghost stories that have always accompanied this base. This poor American chap, after being in a midair collision, his plane then going to crash, he's ejected out. That he probably was not in the best of frames of mind at this point. He's taken his helmet off and put it under his arm, and then he's walked towards the caravan, the airport caravan on site. Now, I thought a caravan was a caravan, you know, like you go on holiday with, like a 2-berth or a 4-berth or a 6-berth. No. I will add a picture of an airport caravan. Again, thank you to all the guys that did explain to me what these things were. They look so cosy and so lovely. So this would have been the runway here. This is the end. Doesn't look like it now, but the runway went right out there to that tree line over there. So the caravan was on a hard standing just around this corner. The pilot or navigator, I'm not sure which one it was, helmet under his arm, has walked towards the light of the airport caravan, wrapped his knuckles on the door, where the controller has then opened the door in the dark to see a man stood there in a flight suit that he thinks is headless because he's got his head under his arm, and shrieking he has run all the way from the caravan all the way over to the control tower, which is about half a mile in that direction. Now, can you just imagine the poor American at that point? Mid-air collision, not great. Having to ditch his plane and eject, not great. Probably feeling a bit shit at this point. And then he comes hoping to be rescued and finds a man screaming at him and running away. Not great. Here is the hard standing of RAF Lindhome. I'll try not to get that person's van on. But this is where the caravan would have been. So that is why I have entitled this vlog Two Phantoms and a Spectre. If anybody is out there is related or knows of the two gentlemen that were involved in this, I would love to hear more. It's obviously not a funny story, but I hope you can see the humorous element to it. And the fact it happened here at RAF Lindhome is just incredible, and I just love the history of this place. Even though it's deserted now and it's full of trees and, you know, it's long since been a loved airbase, this place just gets to me every time. It's got a really lovely feel about it, and I love coming out here and sharing all of these stories. Thank you so much for watching. I upload every Thursday. If I do get time to do these World War II, I know that this is not World War II, but if I do get time to do about RAF Lindhome and any of the stories from here, I do try and upload them on a Saturday when I get time. So please do keep checking in. I will upload as many as possible, and I have got loads and loads of stories to come. Thank you for watching and take care. Bye bye. That vlog today?
Yeah.
And what do you do now?
Hit that like button